Welcome to the shop. Got the FlyFans L-39 64mm. Guess what? It's 6S also. And it has retracts and lights and all the cool stuff that you would want from a larger plane in a neat little package, like a bee. Kind of cool. Banana Hobbies sent this to me to make the kind of videos I like to do, right? We're going to go through all the parts, assemble. I'm going to tell you the things that didn't assemble quite right, because sometimes that happens. We're going to go through setup, Maiden, fly the heck out of it. Then we're going to come back to the shop. We're going to talk about, who's this plane for? Is this your first plane? No, it's not going to be your first plane. But I am going to talk about the pros and cons and maybe who would have the most success out of that. Maybe not the most fun, but the most success in flying it without destroying it. So, stick around. We're going to go into the parts and assembly. Oh, if you like these videos, hit that like button. Also, a link to Banana Hobbies website where you can buy this exact same plane will be in that description below, along with links to all the tools and things that I use during this process. So, stick around. All right, we're going to open up the L-39 64mm from FlyFans. Got it from Banana Hobby. They were kind enough to send it to me for me to play with and show you. Interesting thing about this, it's a 64mm. Typically 64mm that I have worked with are 4S. They're 4S planes, fixed landing gear. This is a 6S with retractable landing gear. That's a little wing. This is going to be a little screamer of a jet. Looks good. Don't know about the servos. They're probably plastic. Lightweight. That's what this thing has got to be. We got a big wad of cables right here we'll have to deal with. Let's see, we've got a bag of parts. Looks like there are just a handful of screws. That means assembly is probably super simple. We have elevator with 2 servos, foam hinges, bright color scheme. Boy, you won't miss this plane. Jeepers. The way this assembles, looks like it's pretty simple. Inside, large battery compartment, but this is a small plane, so you're not throwing in a 5,000. There's going to be, you know, the smaller 3300s and such. We have reverse thrust, which is handy. All the cables here. It comes with an XD60, which most 6S batteries are going to be XD90. So I'm going to chop that off and put on an XD90 just to have a little easier there. We'll see how the landing gear work. We're going to put this thing together. Boy, this is this plane's going to go together in about five minutes. Like it. It's going to take more to set up the radio. Anyway, great little plane. Let's see how she goes together, look at the parts, and then fly the heck out of it. All right, assembly is pretty darn simple. We're going to connect the servo wires. Make sure the polarity is correct. And I'm actually going to do something. I'm going to take, hopefully I have some more of this here, little blender. Make sure that that cable isn't going to, that plug isn't going to pull out. All right, just slides right in. All these screws, pretty big button screws. Okay, tails on. Got a big pile of cables here. I'm gonna twist that wire off, and you know where these are going to go, through that little gap right there. So I'm going to feed those in. Make sure they all go down and they're not sticking out. They're good. And then we just put in these 4 screws and it's assembled. One of the quickest assemblies of a plane. Well done, FlyFans. Screws aren't. Well. A brief comment about attaching the wing. You're going to think it's attached. You're going to think the screws are at the bottom. They can go. They can't go anymore. They will. You start pulling on that wing and you'll see a big gap. Push it down, put it in. Eventually what I did was took out all the screws and then took the wing off and screwed in the screws into the threaded part of the fuselage, took them out, and then put the wing in, and everything went together much easier. I want to kind of point out a couple things. When you bring that packet of wires from the wing into the fuselage, think about it. We've got ailerons, flaps, and landing gear. So there is one cable already set up for channel 1 ailerons. Disregard the number or the channel because it could be different depending on your radio system. There is already, they've done a pretty good job of getting everything through there for the flaps. And they have these guys right here, those are for the gear. And this 3-way Y is already set up. Those were empty, I just put those in. So pretty simple configuration here. We're all set from that perspective. Now it's just a matter of dealing with either changing this to an XD90 or... There really wasn't an or. There was just really a matter of swapping out the XD60 XD90, which means you got to take out the ESC, which you got to get to it from the EDF. That's pretty simple. Pull that out, resoldered, installed it. Installing was the hardest part of the whole thing. Trying to shove the big XD90 through a very small hole. Had to use string and wires and a bunch of things and yank. But bottom line is, it's done. Word of caution. Don't rip your flaps out of your wing if they happen to be reverse on that initial setup. As far as in your radio, make sure everything's going in the right direction before you connect the push rods.
Takeoff flaps. Landing flaps. Flaps up.
The L-39 has these 2 little, I don't know what they are, pitot tubes or something. I'm not quite sure. They stick in the wings. Pretty cool, but I'm not putting mine in because they just get ripped off during transport. Initial flights were with the CG as the book recommends. 90 millimeters back from that little point there. Balanced just fine with the battery I had. The book control throws are a good start. They give you a low and a high. Ailerons, go low. Definitely go low. Elevator, go high. Flaps, do whatever you want. I'll have all my throws and expo and everything in a screen coming up soon. This plane is incredibly efficient. It has a 40 amp ESC and the draw on it sips that battery. I decided to go with that SMC high voltage 3600. A friend of mine was doing 2200 6S and he got about 3 minutes a time. I can go well over 4 minutes a time and with some exciting throttle as well. So I'm pretty darn impressed. Okay, we've got the FlyFans L-39 64 millimeter. Kind of a windy day, not ideal conditions, but we're gonna fly this thing. What the heck, why not, right? Get it up. This is the maiden flight. Get it up, get her trimmed, and then make some approaches, do all the testing we do. Let's see how we do.
Gear up.
get away from you pretty quick. Okay. Trying to see her well enough where I can get a good look at her. Wind's blowing in my eyes. Boy, real sensitive on the aileron.
Time remaining 2 minutes.
Need a little up. Having low rates. Full speed pass. Yeah. Oh. Try a little flap.
Flaps up.
Do a little AS3X.
AS3X mode.
It seems to lock in pretty good, actually.
Time remaining 1 minute.
Alright, I gotta make some approaches here.
Takeoff flaps. Landing flaps.
Looks like the wind is coming.
Takeoff flaps.
Drop the gear.
Flaps up. Gear down. Takeoff flaps.
So I got a total cross breeze. Try to drop her down here a little bit, cut some throttle.
20 seconds. Gear up.
Yeah.
Time remaining 3 minutes.
Got a 30, one of those high voltage SMC packs in it. Okay, do a little fast pass. Up, over. Let's put a little flap in there. See how she performs. A little slower flight. I'm a little under half throttle here, and I just wanted to see how this thing's going to perform, and clearly it does quite well. Pretty good. Going to get up and do a stall test. You'll notice as I'm pulling back, all of a sudden she dips forward.
Time remaining 2.
Full elevator, and she kind of just mushes. All right, full flap. Full flap. Yeah, it's kind of nice. You just kind of mush down. Flaps up. That little stall test really tells me a lot. Tells me, frankly, how slow can I bring it in for a landing? Because that's the tricky part. You don't want to stall them. Let's make it approach. Slow her down a little bit.
Landing flaps.
Full flap.
Takeoff flaps.
More speed.
elevator.
Landing flaps.
Just trying to slow her down a little.
Flaps up.
On this next approach, you'll notice that I've got that nose up a little bit more, which that's how you slow them down. Get that nose up with a little bit of elevator and your plane's going to slow down. I did a stall test, so I kind of know where my limits are as well.
Pretty easy. Nice.
Trying to get a few more flights in, and on this one, when I went inverted, somehow the battery hatch popped off. And the grass in the field hasn't been mowed all year because of the flooding. It's about 2 feet high. Stay tuned, I'll show you what happens.
4 minutes on the timer with that battery pack. I'm gonna do a fast pass here.
Takeoff flaps. Landing flaps.
Let's do a slow pass. She's L-39.
Flaps.
L-39s will fly slow. And they're not perfect, but they're a good configuration, a good solid configuration. This plane is small and zippy. Let's take it up and I want to do some more tests.
Time remaining 3 minutes.
Inverted. Oh, my hatch just blew off. Somebody watch my hatch where it lands. Hatch just blew off when I went inverted. Dang it.
Landing flaps.
Dang it.
So now I got to land it without the hatch. It actually performed fine. I probably could have flown it the rest of the day without the hatch, but wanted to go try to find it. So incorporated the help with Earl and Mike, which will be here showing themselves in 2 seconds.
Yeah, out there in the field.
Which way?
Right over there.
That way?
Yeah.
Well, we headed out into the field. Not exactly sure where it was. Looked for quite a while, but we knew it was out there. I have an app on my phone I use for hunting. It allows you to trace your steps. And I use that to basically make a crosshatch throughout the whole doggone area. Went out the next day when it was foggy and wet and dewy. Finally found it. Almost stepped on the doggone thing. And as Earl asked, where'd you find it? And I said, I found it in the field. Welcome back to the shop. Tell you what, this thing surprised the heck out of me. I was thinking that a little plane, little wings, the 6S, landing gear, I thought this thing was going to be a pig. And, you know, comparing it weight-wise, I mean, we're talking quite a few ounces difference between this and some of the other 64 millimeters that are out there that are flying on 4S. So it surprised me. But what I do want to do is go through, you know, let's summarize on the parts. Part count, simple. Assembly, simple, except for the 2 areas. I would say the putting the wing on, I would self-tap those screws, or I would let those screws tap into the plastic that they go into pretty far down. You know, maybe leave a 1/4 inch of thread left, and then pull those out, then put the wing on. I think it'll then lock in a lot better, because I thought they were locked in, and then there was about an 1/8 inch of gap flopping around with the wing. The other part for me was the XD90 connector, soldered, taking the ESC out. Everything was easy except putting that back in. There's a very small channel right here underneath where that wire, all the wiring go. Boy, it was a tight fit. I had to really pull to get that XD90 through that little gap there. Pretty much it. From a parts perspective also, the front landing gear, I would not fly this on rough grass. That landing gear is a little wobbly. I plan to put one of those, 3D printed, supports in there to give it a little bit more support, just the way that it is. My free wing L-39 is kind of the same way. Most importantly is the flyability, and this thing flew fantastic. I will say that flying it without gyro and with gyro was a big difference. And my gains and such that I had on my AS3X Plus weren't excessive. And it was just a great flying plane when I used that gyro. Power, fantastic. Landing, it'll slow down. It does all the stuff the bigger L-39s do, but a wee little package. Very impressive. I think that Banana Hobby and X-Fly did an outstanding job of putting this thing out in the market. Highly recommend, if you like these small L-39s, get one. For 220 bucks, it's a steal, and you will have a blast with this thing. So, anyway, who is this plane for? It is not for the beginner. I would highly recommend somebody who knows how to fly a faster airplane, who can handle that, who can predict what's happening. Somebody who knows how to land by giving that little elevator, modulating that throttle. That's the kind of pilot who's going to have a blast with this plane. If you're interested in this, there's a link in the description below. If you have any questions, leave a comment. I love answering those questions. Try to help any way I can. Have a great day.